Installing a window regulator, Part 2. If your regulator has not been prepped, please watch Part 1, What to Do Before You Start. Okay, we begin by removing the door panel from this 2002 Ford Expedition. Start by removing the light cover at the bottom of the panel. Then remove the screw inside the case. Next, pry up this plastic cover to expose the bolt behind the handle. Now move on to the side mirror control switch. If you find lights or switches disconnected during this process, remember to hook them back up when you put everything back together. When you remove this piece of plastic, you'll have one screw behind it to remove. Next, pry up the window control panel. Disconnect the power from the door lock switch. And remove the housing. With an 8mm socket, remove that bolt right behind the door handle. Now lift straight up on that door panel. Before pulling away, disconnect the light at the bottom. After removing the panel, then remove the speaker. Now normally you'll find one of two scenarios. Normally, the window would have come out of the clips on the rail, but this one is missing the rail. So I reach to the bottom of the door to retrieve it. Thoroughly clean those clips of all the old epoxy. Then take some 60 or 80 grit sandpaper and clean out the inside. Scuff them up real good. You'll then move the clips from the old regulator to the new regulator. Now remember, when you begin to remove the regulator, this bolt and this bolt stay with the new regulator. These bolts do not. These are the wrong bolts to use. Do not reuse these. Now once your regulator is properly prepped, you will have 4 bolts sticking out, and the 2 bolts here at the end will be sticking in. This is how it should look when you're finished. You get that look by using the proper bolts, 1/2-inch hex head bolts with self-locking nuts. Now the day before this install, I took those bolts and I pressed them in and I covered them with JB Weld Quick Weld. Part 1 goes into much more detail on how to do this. To install the new regulator, you must remove and reinstall these 8 bolts. After removing all the bolts and disconnecting the electrical hookup, it's now time to pull the regulator out. Set the old regulator next to the new one. Make sure everything matches up, especially the electrical hookups. Just as the old regulator came out, the new regulator goes in. Now, once the regulator is inside the door, secure the first 2 bolts on your left. After securing and tightening all 8 bolts, hook up the electrical. It's time to test the regulator. Now take a scrap piece of wood. A 1x2 will work perfect. Make sure it's about the height, about halfway of the speaker. And it's going to be about 1 inch above where you're going to leave the regulator. Now slowly begin to lower the window down on top of that piece of wood. After the window is resting comfortably on that wood, take a piece of tape and cover the window clip. Then take a straight razor and clean the window. Put epoxy liberally into the clip, lift the window with your fingers, move the wood out of the way, and then lower it with your fingers into the clips. Then roll the window up tight and leave it sit for a day, and you'll be good to go. If you found this video useful, please hit that like button. Be blessed, and thanks for watching. Talk and travel, dog.